To be successful in 2021, the most important thing you can do is be honest with yourself, because self-realization is the biggest gift you can have. If you can actually be self-awareness, if you can be aware of who you really are and what your real priorities are, because a lot of people don't know. But if you know what your priorities are and you know why you're doing something, that's one of the best situations you can be in. You can build from there. But if you aren't honest with yourself, open-minded as well, open-minded and honest with yourself, and it's going to be really hard to improve yourself.
That brings up we do reviews, performance reviews, with our ninjas. And it brings up, I had a ninja, we did reviews. I think it was probably maybe 8 weeks ago was the last time I did them. We try to do them at least once a quarter. But I had a ninja that I had done a review, weeks ago, or maybe even a month ago. And they came to me and they said, hey, the things that you told me to work on, have I been doing that? And I said, well, you've done this, so that's good. And they were actually asking me, they're like, well, what are my other flaws? And they brought it up. And I thought it was interesting because most people don't want to know what their flaws are.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, I can do this. And they don't really think about I can't, or I struggle with this. So I think it's a very good point.
So to that point, Paul, the things that you struggle with or the things that you suck at, I mean, that's the things that's going to hold you back the most.
Right.
I mean, you can be super talented in so many ways, but then if you have a really nasty, what's the right word? A really nasty characteristic.
Well, let's say you got a really bad attitude.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh.
You can be skilled, in certain things, but if you've got a really bad attitude, it's going to affect you.
Yes.
It's going to really hinder your performance. Is going to hinder other people. That's why, that's one of our top 5 rules, is have a great attitude. If you don't, it spreads like the plague. It just does. It spreads throughout, and people look, I know the people that are watching, if you work, I know some of you are retired, but if you work, I know somebody, everybody has somebody in their workplace where they go, oh yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Always complaining, always whining, never happy, et cetera, et cetera. And it spreads like a plague.
Well, let's say that you have a good attitude and you're talented and you work hard, but you also have a tendency to lose your cool or lose your temper. Okay. And that can be almost, if not just as devastating. You know Absolutely. What I'm saying? I mean, if you get it right 90% of the time, and you're going to make mistakes. Okay. Yes. But this is my point about self-awareness and being honest with yourself. What's your biggest flaw and what triggers it? So let's think about
that's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, most people can name what their biggest flaw is. Most people can. I mean, if they think about it,
if they're being honest,
yes, if they think about it, they'll know it. But what triggers it? That's the hard part.
It's hard. Maybe that's when some self-reflection will usually show that. I think, if not, maybe talk to some of your mastermind group, your closest inner circle, and say, hey, that sometimes I do this. What do you think? What causes that? So, and here's one thing that causes a lot of problems with people when it comes to, well, I'll just say this: passive aggressive behavior is very detrimental. So, and people who tend to be, and I have in the past, maybe I still do, like the offense, whatever it is that bothers me comes up, and I just ignore it. And then boom, it all comes out at one time. Yeah. When being assertive is so much better. So if you are passive aggressive, that, hey man, now this is hard to say, Jamie, man, this is a problem. You got to stop doing this. You can't do this because it's going to affect our business or whatever. So go ahead and address it, be assertive. And it's really hard running this call center. Okay. We're all growing doing it, right? We'll take one of our young team leaders, Felipe. Okay. Felipe's laid back, easygoing, effective, very talented as a leader, and very friendly. A lot of people like he's a good leader now, don't get me wrong, but a very friendly, not the type of person who's going to come in and cuss somebody out.
Right.
Maybe I won't mention his name. Maybe another Tina Harrow would be a little more aggressive.
Strict.
Yeah. And maybe the other Tina Harrow wouldn't have a problem with saying, hey man, get your shit together. You can't do that, right?
Exactly.
But that may be hard for Felipe to do. Okay. So he has to be aware of it. Okay. And I've seen him do it. Hey guys. And you can tell it's uncomfortable. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, I'm going to need you to put your phones up, for the next 2 hours. We're going to make sure we're not on the phone. That's being assertive.
Right.
Being assertive is so much better than being passive aggressive. What happens when you're passive aggressive? You just ignore it. And then when they say,
Then
put
you
the phone up.
Mhm.
So that's assertiveness is much better.
It's funny. You can tell that you and I are on the same page. I literally just talked to Felipe and Jose about this yesterday.
Really?
I said, hey, you got a lot of skills. You bring a lot of things to the table. But that was one of the things where I was like, I want to see I jokingly said, Felipe, we call him Phil for short. And I jokingly said that I wanted to see mean Phil. In other words, a little more strict Phil, because he is so laid back. That some people tend to, run over him a little bit, abuse him a little bit, things like that. So that's something that he could work on. But when you were talking about losing it, I work on that all the time. Yep. Because when you said earlier, finding the triggers, that's part that I still haven't been able to, to narrow down. I've worked on not losing my temper. I've done a pretty good job. I feel certainly better than in 2020. I was better than I was in 2019.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
so
awesome.
It's like, you make the adjustments, you improve. So, but the triggers, I don't know how that I got to work on that. I got to find out what the triggers are. Maybe Jamie can fill me in on that.
I'll think about it as well and see if I can. A lot of it, man, honestly, is being responsible for so much. You know what I'm saying? So maybe the lack of delegation. You know what I'm saying? So I think you probably, maybe that's the trigger, is you're doing too much. So if we can get, if Felipe and Jamie are handling the correction, the assertive correction, the policing of, because listen, more people, more problems. It's not more money, more problems. It's more people. If we get 75 ninjas in here, we're going to have more problems.
Correct.
So if you're being the police officer and, and you can't, and you're having to do so many, and you're having to take my phone calls, right? So I think that the more we can delegate and have other people step up, then we'll prevent Paul from losing it.
I like that.
Like that?
I do.
Everybody
like
listening?
That. Felipe, you listening?